almost every song that I write is nonfiction. Like, I'm not really good at just sort of making up stuff. So everything I do is about something that really happened, a real person. And there may be fictional elements to it, of course,
right, sure.
but it's always about something real. And so Grace Jones had heard everybody dance, and she says, you know, Grace with her affected voice, you know, darling, she called us up one night, and she says, you know, I would like you to produce my next record. In order for you to understand me as an artist, you have to see my live show. You know, the records are one thing, but my live show, that's what
true.
defines me. And she was right. So she says, so I'm performing at Studio 54 around midnight. You imagine, midnight at Studio 54, 1977, going into 78. She tells us, go to the back door and tell them you're personal friends of Grace Jones, darling. So we thought that was rock and roll code. You know how in the old days everybody would say, call my hotel room and say you're asking for the Marquis de Suede, or you know, all that kind of stuff. So we thought this was some kind of code. We knocked on the back door and said, we're personal guests of Miss Grace Jones, darling.
I put the darling in.
Whatever she told us to say is exactly what we said. And the guy slammed the door in our faces and told us to F off. And he was not nice about it. And we kept knocking and we kept knocking. He was really getting angry. And of course we returned the obscenities, and he just kept saying, you know, F off, F off, F off. And at that time I lived on 52nd Street, which was right around the corner from the 53rd Street entrance to Studio 54. And there was a little liquor store between Studio 54 and my house. Bernard and I stopped off at the liquor store, got 2 bottles of Dom Perignon, went to my crib, picked up our instruments, and started singing, aw, F off, F Studio 54, F off, and we got into it. We started writing a bridge. If a cab driver cuts you off, F off, Finally, after doing this, now we're on the floor crying, we're drunk, we're laughing, and Bernard says, as you well know, in that way that only he can say, he pulls his glass down and says, you know this is happening, right? I'm like, oh, come on, man, how are we gonna get this on the radio in those days? And so we shifted the F off to a good euphemism for that, and we called it freak off. And freak off just didn't do anything, it just didn't lift my skirt. It wasn't sexy. It was like, freak off, what does that mean? Oh, we're gonna go freak off. It was like, so I grew up as a hippie, and it's no secret that I used to take a lot of hallucinogenic drugs, and I had more than one incident where I freaked out. So I said to Bernard, who had nothing to do with that kind of lifestyle, he's from the South, he's a hardcore brother. So I say, oh man, you know, like, you know, when you drop acid, man, you know, like, and you freak out, you know, and he looks at me, he's like, what? And then all of a sudden I got my black, as we used to say, my union card. I got my black union card, my dance card back, and said, no, you know, man, when you go to the dance floor, you know, you're freaking out with the girls. And Bernard had children. And he said, oh, and like that new dance my kids are doing, the freak. And we went, light bulb.
Yes.
That new dance we're doing called the freak. And basically, dance records would always say, you know, put your hand on your hip and do this, put your left foot here, do that, you know, So instead of telling people how to do the dance, and instead of being angry at Studio 54, we decided to celebrate the dance, and we started to talk about the environment and the people, because that was truth. See, we didn't know how to do the dance.
Right.
Fast forward to about 6 months ago, some guy hits me on Facebook, and he's apologizing to me.
Is he the bouncer?
Absolutely. And I know it was him, because at a certain point I became like wallpaper at Studio. I lived at Studio 54. So the incident at the time, we didn't bring it up. We just wrote the song and blah, 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 and everything was peaceful and happy with the world. It was only years later when somebody said, hey, what inspired you to write that song? We told the truth. We said, well, this dude, we would never have written that song. It was a total accident. And the great thing about it is that it wound up becoming the single biggest record of our lives, and Atlantic Records' only triple platinum single.